Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Patrick Fisher, and I'm the Executive Director of Erie Arts and Culture. I want to thank you all for joining us for today's session of a Pro Network webinar. We have Brian Amick from Workbot joining us today, and this session is titled Identifying Tools to Build Your Artistic Brand. The Pro Network is funded in part by the National Endowments for the Arts through their Artworks program. If you haven't done so, I encourage you to visit the website of Erie Arts and Culture, and under our capacity building tab, check out Pro Network. There you'll find all of our previously recorded webinars designed to help build the capacity of our region's artists, as well as local, regional, and national opportunities for artists of all disciplines. Every week we update that listing and keep that going so that you have access to the different opportunities that exist. So Brian is our speaker and presenter this evening. Brian is the creative director and co-founder of Workbot Studios, a digital marketing agency based in Erie out of the Renaissance Building. He has been in the industry since graduating from Edinburgh University with a BFA in 2001. Brian has never been content to rest on his laurels, driven by his desire to build things, learn, educate, and help others. Creative vision and storytelling has always been the motivator of Brian's work. He has spent time as a designer, developer, managing accounts, digital strategy, and other roles to ensure the success of the businesses and to launch projects without a hitch. Brian has taught as an adjunct professor at Edinburgh University of Pennsylvania in design, served on the Erie Ad Club from 2008 to 2011, and president of the club in 2011. And served on the marketing committee of Young Erie Professionals from 2006 to 2007, and the Erie Philharmonic from 2012 to 2015. A little bit about Workbot. They're a digital marketing agency that inspires industry-leading business in the manufacturing, finance, and healthcare sectors. I think we need to add art and culture on there, Brian, since you do have some clients in that area.
Absolutely, yeah.
To become optimistic about their website, marketing, and brand. They do this by promoting collaboration, trust, and creative thinking internally and externally. Over the years, they've discovered that these values help to create a positive environment and promote great teamwork internally with their clients. Brian, thank you for joining us and presenting this evening.
Okay, well, good grilling, and thank you for having me here. So what we're going to talk today about is kind of a discussion about some areas of focus and some tools you can use to help build your artistic brand. And I am downtown. You may hear some sirens from time to time, so I'll try to speak over those when possible. So Patrick had a nice opening about me. He pretty much summed up what I would have summed up here. So I've been around for 20 years, so kind of doing that in the area. And I've made a lot of this my livelihood: design, education, and digital arts and media. So marketing is essential for building your brand. Many of the tools that we're going to talk about are based around marketing and the idea that you should find the right mix of tools to use so that you don't overwhelm yourself trying to market yourself and take away from the time you should be creating your art, creating your product to sell. There's a ton of tools out there. Using the more isn't the merrier. So the idea is kind of finding that right mix to work for you is the best route to go. So I love analogies. One of my favorite analogies is using a wheel. In this case, I consider your website the hub of the wheel that kind of holds everything together. And by creating awareness, interaction, engagement, and measurement, you can have a smooth rolling wheel that kind of gets you to the destination to where you're going. So we're going to look at this and break it down into 4 areas: those awareness, interaction, engagement, and largely show what kind of tools work within those areas that if you use one or two tools in each one of those areas, you're not going to have to try to use everything out there. So we're going to start kind of understanding what this means. I like to use the term marketing stack, and that's really a group of tools or tech-based tools used to help improve your marketing activities. So awareness, that's largely showing people who you are, being authentic about who you are and what you do, what your passions are, and connecting those who value you and your art. Interaction is really about kind of follow-up and giving those who find or become aware of you the ability to communicate in a timely, responsive fashion. Engagement is the process of connecting with those people and sharing your story and experiences of life and who you are. And measurement, figuring out how to work together and understand kind of what stats are available and how to understand how that works. So first, we're going to talk a little bit about your website. Like I say, that's kind of the hub where you want to drive people to learn more about you. And there's a lot of other tools, that can help share your story. But using the website as the hub, it's the core piece of your business or personal brand. And the idea is you focus on the right amount of channels and marketing activities to drive traffic back to your site can help you sell your products or create awareness about you. So what is it that people want to see on your website? For some type of online portfolio, products you create, and it doesn't have to be in a gallery, it could be kind of throughout the site. The ability to learn more about you, your process, how you work, and really determining what separates you, what is intriguing about you, and your style. So authenticity is pretty key here. All right. So with a website, what is it that you need? So we're going to talk a little bit about website tools, not dig into too many details, but even where to begin though. And the first place you want to begin is like the domain, right? So that is your website URL. So that's the www.yadayada.com, whatever that is, to help showcase who you are or your personal brand. So how do you go about getting that? You start by registering that. So there's tons of providers out there. GoDaddy is one of the most popular network solutions, a ton of other options. Sometimes it's easiest just to go with what is easiest. So GoDaddy is always a good example. They can both register and host for that. A ton of other options out there, like I said. That's just a basic one that you may have heard of before. And SSL is security. That helps protect your domain from potential hacking or security, and especially if you're selling products or things like that. But that is a factor that many search engines, Google particularly, will want to see on your website to help rank you better or have your site come up without any security warnings. So there's a lot of do-it-yourself builders out there. WordPress is the most common platform on the web right now, and it's been for several years. And it's extremely easy to use. Free templates, paid templates, and it's built into GoDaddy and a lot of other domain hosting and registration companies, like a one-click install. There's a lot of other options out there like Wix, Squarespace. If you're going to sell a lot of your products, something like Shopify may work well. So, you know, there are tons of tools out there that help kind of easy to set up, do-it-yourself style websites. You know, I really feel that for an artist, you can have a very practical website that focuses on your work. The creative aspects of the work or your devotion can be shown really well in photography. So the actual structure of the website could be very practical, and a lot of those tools, especially like a Wix and Squarespace drag and drop builders, can be just clean, easy to use, and allow you to create your website without a lot of hassle. So by creating a site, what do you want people to know? You know, obviously that you are an artist and these are your specialties, that you create art, perhaps how to create what you're doing. People love tutorials and, you know, integrating video like YouTube. You know, if you don't have those tools, you can use your phone to create video. You could use different elements out there, friends, cameras. You can use community access, and if you're a member there, but a lot of different ways to kind of showcase your self in video and your art, and post that then on your website. People want to be able to sell, or if you can sell your art, if it's the type you can sell online. And I would say, you know, Heather Cashier, she's always done a really good job with her website. You know, you're able to, you know, sell right through there, shipping all of that built in. So it takes a lot of the heavy lifting off your shoulders by creating kind of that central place for that. So kind of what tools for creating awareness: social media, email, and a blog. So social media, obviously, any of the, you know, having that social media account. We all pretty much know the channels: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I just right now connected to Monica. I don't think we were connected before, but that's a great place to see the visuals of what you're doing. You know, locally, I find Matt Fang does a pretty good job of showcasing a lot of his work on Instagram, and also has a very nice website. So, you know, also creating awareness is that original content outside of images and video, but also copy, writing blog posts, and content, kind of being that thought leader in the crowd. You know, I feel it's very important to kind of be authentic and not spam, especially on a lot of social platforms. I feel millennials and those younger are really good at picking up kind of non-authentic stuff on there, whether it's like, you know, there's a saying, it's called empty cans kind of make the most noise sometimes. Like if you produce too much almost junk or spammy stuff, that scares people away. So it's better to post less, but post things that are more authentic and more of what you're about. So any of the platforms are there. You know, Etsy is not really, that can be part of a website, really, not really social, but it's another place you can use to help sell some of your products. Oh, let's go back. Where do we So, how do you go about choosing that platform? Like I said, you shouldn't be on every platform. It's just going to be too time, take up too much of your time. And, choosing the right ones is part where you've seen the most growth. Another part is, where you're getting the most traction and where you're most comfortable with. Um, you know, so finding that right audience. I just made this the other day, and I even have a TikTok in there, which is now going under a lot of scrutiny from the government. It's already been banned in India a lot for security issues. But I think there are the tried and true, like Facebook, Instagram, work really well. That may have a much larger audience to reach. So kind of the content, the type of content you're creating, music videos may perform better on YouTube, for example, than photos on Instagram. It's a lot of testing and trying things out. But like I said, you don't want to spend more time on that than you are on your own artwork. So even some of the free platforms, shouldn't cost money, but you can spend a little more to promote based on whether or not you are interested in selling products or, taking a risk to see if spending a few dollars to promote a brand or a post can potentially get you more sales. So how do you create a lot of this content? There's a ton of tools out there, both paid and free. XD, that's more publication, or I use that a lot for web design. Photoshop, Canva's free. There's a lot of tools out there that can help provide you the ability to crop and edit your images before uploading them to your website. There's also free stock sites. Once again, that takes you away from being authentic, but if you need filler stuff, some of those work. You do have to look at their specific guidelines, and so that you may have to leave an annotation about where you got that at. So types of content: posts, stories on Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, and videos. All right, next is interaction. So, I think the more that you experiment and play, the more you start to learn about who your audience is. And that audience may look or feel a lot different than you originally thought. The old school way of marketing was just kind of that marketing to the masses. You put it out there, almost the billboard approach, right? You get a billboard and everybody drives by, sees it. And that's not real practical for personal brands, especially for artists. You need to kind of find your tribe, find that niche of people who resonate with you, which is why they want to act. And it's creating that two-way communication with them. And there's multiple ways of doing that. We'll talk a little bit about, but so what's important about or why is interaction with those who are your followers or people who are part of that tribe. Why is that important? And it kind of facilitates artistic contextualization, really meaning that it relates to them, and it's an understanding that you and them have together. Can create excitement and anticipation for new art. So things like email newsletters using products like MailChimp, which are free up to a certain amount of users. You can send out monthly or quarterly newsletters just to entice people. I get a ton of different newsletters from illustrators and people who sometimes I've never even used their services, but because I see them coming up, I plan to at some point. That's a great illustrator. I could see them for this. So even if you don't have a lot of immediate feedback or immediate reaction, you got to keep trying. And eventually a lot of that can turn into selling your artistic work. So how can you interact with potential customers? Idea is, and it's hard. A lot of artists are introverts. I'm certainly that way, but you always have to be present, participatory, and showcase your knowledge about what you do. And a lot of times, when you are very knowledgeable about your subject or devotion, it makes it so much easier to kind of break that ice and get out there and develop your voice, make yourself approachable, at least to those who are part of your following. So it's kind of appeal to many, but speak to one. But at the same time, that many isn't the masses. Speak kind of from your heart and your sense of authenticity. And that kind of establishes trust. So examples, with the audience are like follower polls. You can do those on many of the social platforms. Creating or being involved with niche groups on platforms. And Instagram, there's a lot of niche groups on there. We do a lot of work with FlexCut locally, who's a business, but they have a huge following of printmakers and people who use their products. And it's really neat to dive into a lot of those kind of networks of artists within certain criteria. I never knew that spoon making was such a big thing, but it really is. And it's encouraged me to make some spoons, which I will not show you photos of because they're not that good. Whoop, let's go back. So how to boost that interaction through partnerships, like I mentioned, kind of creating those alliances or groups, kind of showing up, commenting on other relative artists. Competition, I think, is natural, but I think with artists, you can kind of gain a lot of traction befriending some of the right ones, especially online. I've seen that work out really well. And also reach out to companies if you're, an illustrator that uses a certain type of pen. Reach out to that company and see if there's some opportunity to collaborate. Even potential influencer marketing. Okay, engagement. So this is about kind of showing them you're the expert. Showing them, increasing your visibility and reach. So staging yourself as an expert to that group that you're starting to kind of work into or be a part of will help kind of exponentially grow your brand. And certainly, having the website and directing them to that from social or email channels is always a good way to expand on that. So what do you need here? It's the right mix of social platforms, the right kind of circle of followers or niche groups to be present You know, many people post multiple times a day. Like I said, it's more important to be authentic than to just forcefully post things that aren't extremely meaningful. So, you know, how do you become, you know, or generate more engagement? Certainly, telling a story or personal experiences really plays into that. You know, relate to other people, ask questions, and you know, strive to share tips and be active in those communities. So, so next in here, kind of the fourth section of the wheel is the measurement. Kind of tracking your progress, measure success, and what is it that you should look like in these? Well, are you increasing followers on social, like on Instagram or Facebook? Likes and comments, how is that growing? You know, are you increasing shares and visibility? And I think the most important is increasing revenue. You know, you are an artist, but you're running a business. I think the band Metallica was always good at, early on, they learned that although they were, you know, a rock band, they were actually a business, and that they, you know, did that early on. And I've always kind of found that fascinating that a lot of people push that off, musicians and other people, till later on. So kind of your marketing stack, it's the tools and technologies from which to assist with the awareness, engagement, interaction, and measurement, and building the stack that is best for you. So, you know, I think one part about measurement too, you know, a lot of this, I think it was Michael Jordan who said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. But I think people are afraid of technology a lot of times, and not willing to take risks of trying or starting something. You know, and a website, you know, may be intimidating to get started with, but you just have to kind of, you know, have it trial by fire and learn. You know, purchase your domain, understand, you know, what platform to use. You know, it's a choice, and you know, making those decisions without putting too much effort into making decisions, just kind of moving ahead, will get you much further than kind of dwelling on, well, what platform do I use? What do I do? Which is where I see a lot of people make mistakes. They spend months thinking about what platforms to use when they could have a website up and running and selling product, and marketing themselves. So, you know, just take that chance, take that risk, and move forward. So building your stack of technologies, remember the jack of all trades is master of none. Don't overdo it. Make sure that you have time to create your work that you're interested in, and minimalize what platforms you use, to not overexert yourself. You can't be everywhere at all times, but if you concentrate your efforts into a few areas, and you know, really understand that if you have a main goal of, you know, increasing my followers or selling more product, you know, keep that in mind the whole way here. So once again, what do you need first? You know, your goals. So awareness, what tools do you need to generate awareness? You know, you have to build your website. You should really have that. Awareness, that's your social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram. Interaction, what kind of platforms are going to help you generate results? Interaction, email marketing is extremely good. So programs like MailChimp really help. Constant contact, that will allow you to build that list of people who are interested in your work that you can set them updates on. Engagement, just, you know, through your blog, but also through following up with people, as well as going to events and being parts of groups that are relative to your field. And then measurement, what tools or technologies. You know, I didn't mention a lot. I think I skipped over it really. Google Analytics, it's a free tool. It's really useful for understanding site visitation, how many people are visiting your site. And you can, you know, if you get real successful, you can do Google Ads and start promoting your site, but probably not as effective as using Instagram or Facebook and creating or being part of groups there. So, you know, creating that right stack, select the technologies that help you generate awareness, create and maintain a website, manage any type of customer data, create great content, interact with potential clients, engage with your audience, and understanding, track and measure success. And it's always an iterative process. With anything digital, you don't set it and forget it. You always have to kind of make updates and changes, upload files. And the more you do it, the more you become comfortable with it. But if you don't kind of take that first step and start moving, then you're going to, you know, miss 100% of those shots you don't take. So, you know, just tips down below. You know, it's not always about the cheapest solution, but there are a lot of free solutions out there. And maybe that's a good place to start, where you can take those risks and experiment a bit. So, you know, as we circle back to this, you know, the most important thing is your website. That kind of is the glue or the spoke of the wheel, or I'm sorry, the hub of the wheel that keeps all the spokes in the wheel moving along. You know, creating awareness so that people will know of you, the artist, and your personal brand. Interacting with the people who are followers and visiting you on your website and social platforms, and making sure that you engage with them as in both digital and physical, from attending events and networking in your specific areas of expertise, and then measurement, understanding how your tools are working. And if they're not working as well as you would like, that's when you come back, try something new. So don't be afraid to try something new, and experiment, and just go ahead, you know, take that risk, and grow from there. So largely that's kind of the overview, understanding kind of what a marketing stack is, some tools that you could need to help grow your personal brand. Perhaps down the line, I could do some more detailed into specific tools, some tutorials, how to build, say, a email marketing piece. You know, either myself or another work bottier, as we call ourselves, can lead a discussion on that. But does anybody have any questions? Other than that, there's my thanks.
I have a question.
Yep.
So I know that social media is like so important, but I hate social media and I just dread going on and I just don't enjoy it.
I know. Yeah, it can be a task, especially if you're not you don't enjoy it. And you know, the more you try, the more you share and get comfortable. You know, people learn about who you are, and that's the you know, even on Instagram, you know, I've kind of switched accounts over the years, and I focused on the business account for a while, and then I kind of went back to my own, kind of took some time off from one. And it's interesting to see who is really interested in what you do and what you share. And who are those people that kind of are those empty cans clinking around, making a lot of noise, but not really providing the value. So, you know, you've got a great brand. You know, I think even taking photos, I think the zoo's open. Every time I see that thing at the zoo, that piece of art, you think, oh, that's Heather's, you know, that's something you should share, you know, even bits and pieces of it from time to time. But you do, you know, really fun, incredible work. And I think you have a lot of people who are interested in that style and that, that look and feel. And I don't be afraid to share that, you know. So one of my mentors would always say, you know, fear stands for false expectations of appearing real. And I think a lot of that sharing, like, I don't want people not to like this, right? I think that's one of the fears people have in sharing things on social media. But I think humans, naturally think of the worst. But if there's something you really enjoy, or you really feel strongly about something you created and you share it, other people will pick up on that, and they will embrace that as much as you into that. So I know, you know, just saying don't be scared, you know, that you just have to do it, you know, and you know, so that's actually a challenge for me, for you today. Post something on Instagram or somewhere that, even if you're a little uncomfortable with, just do that. So do you think you can do that?
Yeah, I guess so. But then, like, what if I post something, like, I don't want to be a jerk and just post something and then, like, not, like, go to other people's things. So then it's like this whole ordeal where then I have to go through my feed and, like, comment on other people's things so that I don't feel like, you know, a jerk. And then it's like
people don't, you know, I have those same discussions in my head, but I think people don't do it that way, you know. And I think by doing that, you post a few times, you'll start at the same time to find artists and things that are interesting to you, and naturally you will start to do more with that. So there's a great comment there. Beyonce doesn't follow anyone's accounts.
Really? Oh my god.
So
that's crazy.
But so anyways, yeah,
I guess a lot of people feel the same way I do, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I think many artists, including myself, have always been introverts. So just, you know, sharing stuff to share if you feel passionate, think it's funny, you know, just get it out there. And you know, I definitely see people that, you know, when you post 7 to 10 times a day, you start to lose a sense of, you know, authenticity, or you kind of feel sad sometimes for those people. So I think you have to develop that right amount of kind of confidence in sharing your work and things like that, as well as your personal, some of your personal life, perhaps. Just, creating who you are and getting that out there.
Thanks.
I have a question for you. So one of the things we talk about when looking to approach your art or your craft like a small business. So if you're somebody that actually has an object or item to sell, it's really important to keep your personal finances separate from your business finances. And I think one of the mistakes that especially emerging artists can make sometimes with social media is that they might start to build followers that are interested in actually seeing their artistic process, maybe their studio space, the artwork itself. But then they might also post pictures of their kids and their dogs and the food that they're eating, which, if someone doesn't know you, might not necessarily be interested in that aspect of your life. Do you think that it's important to have different accounts for those personal moments versus those professional moments?
So for the individual, it depends how much of their personal life they want to intertwine with their artistic side. Sometimes it's totally intertwined, and if that's the way that person is, that's totally great. I don't think it's like finances. Definitely business, your artistic side finances and personal finances, you probably want to keep those separate, for a lot of reasons. But Instagram, I say more cases than not, you do want to kind of intertwine some of that together. That's what I feel, anyways.
I
Yes.
have maybe like a video from somewhere where someone who was very in love with Instagram, speaking to other visual artists, had recommended for there not to be two separate accounts, for the reason that looking at, for two reasons. One, building an audience, having two separate accounts, you're kind of those, let's say you have kids, well, you want those parents to coming to your shows, to coming to your exhibits. So you're kind of having to kind of create two market bases. So, it's might as well combine them into one instead of trying to see what are you showing over here that you need to build over here, and kind of creating a headache instead of just having one. And for the other is that curators or directors of museums want to see a bigger picture than just your artwork. So they want to see, because you will be representing them. And so they want to see a little bit more, and they want to see what else do you give back. So they want to see sort of even fails, pictures of crumpled up paper of the time that, not everything was a success. And so to see more of the artist than just perfect, everything just completely in there, what's recommended.
So one of my favorite local writers, who actually lives in Cleveland now, but he's got two accounts on Facebook, and often shares the same thing on both accounts. And well, do I like them both? Do I like one? It can confuse things. So yes, having one account, especially if it's duplication of content, can be confusing from kind of the external standpoint, so the user who's following you. So, and there's a local person in politician really who does a similar thing, has a few different, might share it under two different accounts. And oftentimes, well, I'm going to like his personal one, you know, which one's that? So, so yeah, having it as one would be my recommendation in most cases, to have that, you know, single persona. So Karen asked, people tell me I should sell my art. My real joy is in creating it. How can I make the business marketing be less of a chore and scary? So, you know, but part of what I was, you know, trying to get across is there are a ton of tools. You don't have to use them all. And by limiting the amount of tools you have, or starting with one or two to kind of help promote, it's going to be a lot less intimidating and scary. No matter what, marketing yourself, there will be some element of it feeling like a chore. You will have to kind of step out of your comfort zone. And, you know, if you're sending an email to 20, 30 people, hitting submit for the first time, that might be scary. What are these people going to think? If they're following you, most likely they're going to be excited to see something come to them from you. Same way, if they're connected with you on Facebook or Instagram, if you upload something, they're going to be excited, especially if it's positive or authentic. Nobody likes negative stuff. So we're all overwhelmed, and we see enough of that where we do want to be more connected with, you know, people and things that bring us more excitement and joy. So, so yeah, it might feel like a chore, but the more you do it, the more comfortable you will do it. You know, just do what you can to not be afraid. And even if you are, take the risk and chance and step out of your comfort zone and hit send or submit. Can you guys see the group chat? Everyone, there's a question there. Tips for scheduling content and remaining consistent. Yeah, there are a lot of platforms out there. Hootsuite is one that is good for like Twitter, and I had some tools listed here somewhere that I kind of skipped over. Somewhere here. Where did I have those listed? So, you know, I'm thinking, yeah, Hootsuite, the little owl logo. That one we've used quite a bit to help pre-schedule things. Facebook has that ability to pre-schedule posts on there. You know, if you're writing blog posts, using a product like WordPress, there's the ability to pre-post those based on server time. So you can post it and have it go live in a few days. There are abilities to do that. You know, sometimes using a third-party software gets you less attention. And a lot of them, like Facebook, encourage you to use their system to pre-post. So, but you know, even setting an alarm or creating, you know, what we do for a lot of our clients is create a content calendar. And you could do that as simple as setting up a Google Calendar and create automatic tasks for you on certain days to post to Facebook, or post to Instagram, or you know, and if you don't hit that, you can drag it to the next day. But like I said, the more comfortable you get, the easier it becomes. But you have to start. That's the important thing. Any other questions or comments?
Brian, I have another one.
Yeah.
With blog posts, do you have any recommendations on a ratio between like text and other types of content, whether it be images, video, etc.?
So that is a good question. There had been called text to content ratio or text to code ratio from an SEO standpoint, which many people say doesn't really hold a lot of weight. I think depends on what the messaging you are and getting that across to your clientele. Everyone learns, for an organization like Erie Arts and Culture, you have a pretty wide base that will follow you. So it's good to experiment with video content, imagery. And after a while, you can dig down into, and you should be able to do this now, what are your more popular posts? What is seeing the most attention? And kind of tallying up. Well, we're seeing that a lot of our content posts are actually getting a lot more traffic than some of the video posts. And if that were true, maybe you put a little more emphasis on content writing. So Google Analytics is a great tool. It's free to use. That's something that even a quick search of how to see what blog posts are the best or highest ranking, you'll find a probably step-by-step of how to dig into analytics and find that. So that could be different for individuals, business, or nonprofits in a cultural sector. So that's a good question, and I'm going to find that out for you. What's really working. So blogs are a good way. The question Monica asked is good. Blogs are another way of telling your story, lending advice, and talking about subjects that are important to you that other people may find important too. From the business side, we're really focused on accessibility, ADA compliance. One of the most popular pages on our website is a blog post we created in January of 2018. And we have traffic from a lot of really big businesses and consultants from all over the world. And, they go to that post and they spend time reading it and learn more about ADA compliance. So that was something that was really interesting to me. Well, why shouldn't, like, a website should be accessible to everybody, whether screen reader and color contrast for those with visual impairment. So we wrote that and put the information out, and it's been well received. So that's where if you do have those things you are passionate about, or things that are really interesting to you, you have to share those in the written word as well as the image and video. So ideal recommended time spent on marketing. Whatever you're doing now, do more up to a certain point. So like I said, if you can start with 1 to 2 hours a week and see how that goes, see if you can spend a few weeks at 2 to 4 hours. And if you get more more feedback, more sales, maybe that's a better thing to do. Like I said, I don't think you should ever spend more time on marketing than what you do as your creative devotion. So that should be the priority, because that is more who you are, and you're just marketing that ability. So never a 50-50 mix, unless you mass produce. If you're able to create, we'll just use the different prints, and you can produce a lot of those. Perhaps you could spend more on marketing than your actual creative endeavors. But I think any tips on taking photos for social media or a website? Cameras nowadays on your phone are really good. I don't think you'll have to, if you're a photographer, obviously use the best equipment out there that you have, that you need to do your work. I think a lot of photos on websites, cleanliness. A thing you can look at when thinking about posting on social media is, maybe come up with a rhythm. Take one piece of artwork, one picture of you creating something, one picture of a pet of yours, and then another picture of something other that you're passionate about, or the beautiful sunsets we have, or something like that. And you start to intertwine that, and maybe you start in that 1, 2, 3, 4, and then later on you figure out how to intertwine with what either gets more attention, or what is most satisfying to publish for you. So it's not all about the most likes. It's what's really important to you, and ideally turning that into long-term revenue. So you said things to avoid. Personally, I don't like a lot of negative stuff, and I would say try to bring positivity to the world. So I would do the best you can to take positively. If your art isn't necessarily positive, that's more your personal brand, and kind of create your persona based on that. Okay, so a question about placing your blog. Yeah, your blog should live on your website. WordPress essentially is a blog platform at its core, but Wix, Squarespace, Shopify, any of those platforms do have the ability to blog built in to it. The idea is, keep them all on one site, makes it easier for them to understand where they are. It keeps the branding and look and feel of it more consistent. And it's less work for you to make updates in less amount of spaces. Does that answer that, Mary? Okay. All right, anything else?
Hi.
Hello.
I have questions. First, can I just say that I felt like it was destiny that I ran into this webinar yesterday.
Okay.
I have really bad social media anxiety, so I know I would feel what Heather's talking about, and Facebook is a lot for me, and I just do YouTube, and I felt like that's already a lot. I don't do Instagram. I posted 2 things, and I was on yesterday because I realized that my videos aren't showing up in search results at all. So my one question, you were talking about using money to boost your boost yourself. Is that something that you need for YouTube or Facebook to get more views? If you're seeming to be putting things out, but the views are still really low. And then also, I was wondering about follower polls.
Yeah. Okay. So good. First of all, very good at doing that. I find that interesting that you're more comfortable creating videos than Instagram. You do seem like just talking felt very comfortable there. Many people I feel are more the opposite. They can easy create an image, but video is a lot more intimidating to see them on screen talking and moving. So kudos to you. I think that's a harder thing to to do.
Sorry. This is my first Zoom meeting,
yeah.
And I don't know how I can see everybody at the same time I'm seeing you right now.
Okay, there is a grid. There is the option to do that on the top right, and there's a little 3 dots, I think. I don't see that here, but
okay,
squares that allow you to see.
I'm just seeing you, but it's okay.
Good. So how do you? A lot of platforms. So YouTube is very saturated, and you can post videos that you've created. You have to. That's a platform you really have to build a following. And if you're using that YouTube as a revenue stream, it can take a lot of time to turn it into that. Certainly a year or more of consistency of doing that. I've seen a lot of people online, hey, how much does a video with over 1 million views make? A 5-minute long video with 1 million views. And one I just watched in the last few weeks, the person showed their dashboard of what they made. They made about $1,000 off of 1 million views over 5 minutes with ads at the beginning in over a year time. So now, over time, if you continue producing content and posting it at a rate and at the length of video that you'll learn over time what works best, you can then kind of see how that's working for you and gauge on what videos tend to get the best feedback, what gets the most likes and followers. I think YouTube is harder to get into now than it was 10 years ago. And, I see a lot of that through who are the big YouTubers making money. And most of them were around 10 years ago. That's when they started. And they've continued to build their follower base since. So anything in marketing takes time. There's not like a cut to the chase quick technique, and I feel that a lot of times, you may not get the immediate payback by spending money on platforms. It may be a good way to boost followers, things like that initially, but the idea is not to give up. Keep trying, keep showcasing your work. It sounds scary, but if you're passionate about what you're doing, just don't quit and keep moving forward. I guess that's the best I can answer that.
Yeah, it's just weird. If my videos aren't even showing up when I search for, like, for example, I made a hula hoop video. I'm slacklining and hoop dancing to a Ludacris song. And I put in the search tags, like, hula hooping, Ludacris, slackline, and it doesn't show up. It shows, videos that have nothing to do with that. And it's like the end of results. And I'm, okay, so maybe, what other videos aren't showing up and why aren't they showing up? Do you need Is that what the money you pay? I really maybe need to take a look at YouTube.
So YouTube does take time, and you know, it's posted. I wouldn't go back and make any changes. Search for the exact title of your video. Whatever the title is, search for that and see if that comes up with that exact wording. They do have a, yeah, I mean, it could be private. I think
I've made them public.
Yeah.
And some of my other videos will show up. But
may I ask a question? It could be because you're infringing on the copyright. I know that like Instagram, if you use a song clip, it'll actually post that it's muting the audio in the clip because you don't have the copyright.
Yeah, it does that with some of the videos, but these videos aren't muted. So if there is a copyright, they will, you know, or they'll take the video down. That has happened to me, and on Facebook as well. So that makes it difficult when you know, your artistry is dancing and you just, you know, have the video on and you don't know what is okay and what's not. And
yeah, I've seen a lot of, I do not own the rights to this music, even just placed in there. I'm not sure if that affects, that's a good question. I don't know if having that affects how YouTube sees that.
I was listening to some podcasters, actually Tom Segura and his wife, and I know that in the last like 6 months, YouTube has changed their content policy, and if something is considered mature content for one reason or another, it makes finding the content extremely hard. And they had that issue with their podcast started getting buried, which then impacted their revenue stream. So potentially, even if the Ludacris song has you know, language that's considered obscene, etc., for some reason, maybe YouTube's algorithm is burying it.
Consistency. I think that's a lot of it too. So
how consistent? How, like, would you recommend as what would be the minimum?
So I mean, so the top YouTubers, you know, post something every day, different videos, and by the time that they get to that level, they're not doing the work themselves. They have teams to produce that work. Even like some of the big video game players out there, they're not doing a lot of that. You know, Heather thinks once a week's pretty good for YouTube. You know, that's 52 times a year, 52 videos. That, if you do that once a week for a year, you've got a great sampling of what maybe is getting the most traffic, what is receiving the best, you know, most comments, likes, subscribes. So, you know, there's a lot of opinions, I think, out there, and of how to get higher and more views. But I think continued testing by producing a consistent amount of content and measuring over time is a really good way to figure that out. So if you could do 52 in a year, that would be, you know, really good. That's my challenge to you. Produce one video a week for a year. Okay, so follower polls. Okay. So yeah, follower polls, you know, Facebook, for example, Instagram. So, you know, if you're a photographer, maybe a poll's about what type of content, or what type of camera or what type of lens you like, and create that engagement. Like, hey, this lens, or what's your favorite macro lens? That's a little more specific. But, you know, the follower polls are really about creating talk around a subject. And, so cameras, for photographers. What's your favorite type of wood carving tool? Do you like the micro one or a medium blade? So, it's really just creating that buzz and awareness and making you the expert. Like I said, TikTok is under some scrutiny now, which is interesting. I saw a few weeks ago, it was actually banned in China, or no, I'm sorry, in India. So TikTok, I don't know how they handle copyright music either, but I feel that is partial problem with that platform as well. But it's addicting if you get on there and start scrolling through. Okay. Any other questions? You guys happy?
Well, I just want to thank you again for your knowledge and your time, Brian, and I want to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon. We will be posting a recap of this video into our blog post, along with a short survey. Brian, you had mentioned that WorkBot uses content calendars. Would it be possible to maybe send an example of a content calendar and we could include that in the recap blog post?
Perhaps. We'll have to look at like a flushed out one that we maybe hide the client's name or the titles or things like that. So if you want to give me a few days, I should be able to do something for that. So.
All right. Well, again, thank you everybody for joining us. If you take a look at Erie Arts and Culture's blog, we have a few more Pro Network events scheduled throughout the remainder of the month, including how you can use things like games and play to collect community data beyond just surveys, as well as how to do some of the boring things around being an artist, such as writing a bio, artist statement, building your portfolio, etc. All of those will be posted to Erie Arts and Culture's blog. Again, Brian, thank you so much for your time and knowledge.
And thank you for having me. We'll see you guys later. And good luck. Everybody do their homework assignments, okay?